I'm telling you right now, I really like the idea of people having unfinished stories that just end abruptly before you find out the ending. Because then what it lends itself to is the adventurers themselves starting to realize that stuff that is now happening past this is reminiscent of the story that they just heard. As we get further and further into October, it's around the time that we start thinking about Halloween and thus spoopy times. And
This is Halloween.
This is Halloween, indeed. There should be a song about that too. We're creating a playlist with this video. Anyway, one thing that we wanted to talk about were trying to get a few kind of adventure hook ideas that were based off of those spooky kind of things. And today I think we're going to be talking a little bit about the old classic about the campfire ghost stories. Were you ever around a campfire when they told you a ghost story?
Oh,
flashlight?
Most likely. I don't remember those days, but I was a Boy Scout once and went on camping trips, so I'm sure we had ghost stories of some sort.
Oh, okay. I avoid the woods like the plague, so...
As you probably should, there are ticks in the woods.
Yeah, there are ticks, and there is also woods in the woods, and...
Even worse.
Yeah, sure is. There's ground, gravel, rocks, streams...
Anyways...
Carp.
Ghost stories.
Anyway, ghost...
Carp?
Yeah, there's carp in the woods. Yeah, ghost fire stories. Ghost fire? Campfire stories about ghosts. I had a thought about how to use this as an adventure hook, and I wanted to, talk to you about it. I thought we'd shoot this out. So, the classic idea about the campfire ghost story is that, you had your camp counselor or some adult that likes to scare kids, going and...
Obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you not want to scare kids?
It's the only thing that gives us life after 40, really. Pretty much, that's the best thing in life is to scare kids. So anyway, you get the flashlight in front of your face and you tell them about the guy with the hook hand or whatever it was, and then all the kids get scared because you got somebody out in the woods that goes "Rawr!" after you tell them the story and you've held their attention, and then everybody goes to bed scared. And what a lovely time to be alive. In terms of an adventure, I thought to myself, well, it would be interesting if you had the elder, your Deckard Cain of the world, sitting down with the adventurers to tell them about this local legend. And the local legend goes in probably similar fashion to that about the guy with the fictional hook hand, but maybe the hook is magical now. I don't really know what your world is.
Magic hook. The swamp thing.
It's Swamp Thing.
With the hook hand.
Swamp Thing
the
with
fisherman's hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So anyway, you have Swamp Thing with the hook hand and the fishing hat, because he's gone fishing. And before he can really finish the story, he gets interrupted by something, and
maybe he just has a heart attack and dies.
Maybe he just has a heart attack and dies. I'm telling you right now, I really like the idea of people having unfinished stories that just end abruptly before you find out the ending. Because then what it lends itself to is the adventurers themselves starting to realize that stuff that is now happening past this is reminiscent of the story that they just heard. These elements are starting to creep in, and they're starting to see a scrying on the trees that looks like a hook just went across the tree itself and put this just big gash into it. And they're seeing maybe a fisherman's hat as they start to explore, and it's down by the pier, and this was the pier where the magical swamp thing creature was. And what does all of that mean? And you're seeing a gurgling in the pond, and you might want to explore it, but it's not there. And all of a sudden you start to realize that this legend isn't a legend. This legend is real, and you are now in the middle of trying to figure out what happens here, because you don't know the end of the story. You don't know how this all resolves itself.
Hold on, I got this all solved right now.
Great.
I cast Speak with Dead.
What we don't know if the swamp monster is dead or not.
No, the guy who's telling me the story.
Oh, I gotcha.
Then again, if he's not dead, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, you know what happened? He got scared of his own story and he ran away.
Oh, then I can't speak with dead.
No speaking with dead for you. Sorry, no way out of this that easy. So at any rate, if we're not doing speak with dead, there's a few ways that we could probably play around with this. I think it's a good way to start this ideation. What would we want to do to kind of like give hints about this mystery?
You want to give them hints?
I don't know if I even want to give them hints, come to think of it. Maybe I want them to be... maybe the unknown is more fun, where they have to figure it out on their own, and I only give information if they happen to want it and have found a way to earn it by doing the correct checks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be more beneficial in this case, because they don't know what's going on until it goes on. And then it's not giving them hints, they're figuring out what the fuck happened, kind of deal.
Right.
Or figuring out where to go next.
I do like the idea that when we're telling the story, there are a couple key pieces of information that we do not reveal, which is mostly like, one, how the monster dies. That's why I say it's always a good idea to not tell the end of this story. I want to cut it off before any vital, useful information happens. We're gonna make sure that doesn't... You just tell them everything that the monster is capable of doing, like the bad stuff. That maybe not everything.
And that's over-exaggerated, too.
It might be over-exaggerated, but here's the fun part. Then the monster does something that you were not told about. And all of a sudden, you have to start questioning the accuracy of the legend in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
So there.
Turns out the monster was just a duck with a knife in its bill.
That's scarier, though. Ducks are mean.
Exactly. Yeah, well, give a duck a knife. Yeah.
You know what it's going to end up being? It's just going to be Untitled Goose Game.
Great.
Because that goose is terrifying. Put a little fisherman hat on the goose, and put a knife in that goose's bill. That's the most dangerous weapon you have.
Yes.
The goose was the murderer the whole time. The goose was Ghostface.
That's a bit much. Gooseface.
Gooseface, yeah. One question that the players will probably come across is the legend something that the story was based off of, or did the story manifest the monster? Which one of these scenarios are? Did the story make the monster, or did the monster inform the story in the first place?
The monster made the story, obviously.
The monster wrote his own story down like an autobiography.
Yeah, that's why Shrek was always like, "Get out of my swamp." He wrote the signs.
He wrote the signs, yeah. And then there was a tale about the swamp ogre, who liked to sing a lot of Smash Mouth. So anyway, I guess that's the monster that we're creating, is the swamp ogre that likes Smash Mouth, right?
Yeah, sure.
Great. I'm so excited.
Somebody.
Somebody that I just killed over in the corner. This is a great scenario for necromancers, though. Every single one we're going to do this season for these spooky tales is just like, what would a necromancer do? We just gotta ask that question. Necromancer just raises everybody up from the dead. What kind of ghost story do you think you'd want to tell? Scary ghost story.
Something about a monster. Obviously, that's killing people. Probably would be most generic, but easy to do.
That's a good question, though. Do you want to do something that's kind of like generic, or do you want to do something that's more specific to like the area or the setting that you're in?
I feel like you actually want to do something that's more generic on the surface level, but have it be very specific to the thing and different in a way that's not expected.
So here's what we can do. When the story is being told, it's told in a way that's very generic. So it's very vague, and the vagary kind of lends itself to the unknown. And then after that cuts off and you're actually in it, then the actual story elements that are very specific to the world start to reveal themselves. The elements of like what this means to the area, to the town, to the people, to the lore, that all becomes much more defined afterward. So it's a discovery that they have that's based on a legend, but they really learn the actual legend of the whole thing by being in the scenario. It's not implicitly made clear when they start. So basically, my ghost story that I'm telling at the beginning, my campfire spooky tale, is just, there's somebody in the woods. Ooh. Gah! And then you die.
Yeah, exactly.
But not die because it's Speak with Dead. Oh, no, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, you might as well have the Deckard Cain character die. Because then if you were asked to speak with Dead, he's just going to know the generic version of the story. He's not going to be able to inform you about anything new or useful or detailed information. Because all the Deckard Cain character knows is the basic generic information that he's given you.
He only knows enough to make you stay a while and listen.
That's right.
He faked his own death. It was Old Man Jenkins all along.
Oh no! And he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids. You meddling adventurers. But if you decide to do that, you definitely have to have, like, a dog companion in the party.
Right.
That likes dog snacks. Certain kinds of snacks. Named after him. If you have a dog named Spot, it has to have Spotty snacks. That's got to be one that we do later on, is to try and do a Scooby-Doo mystery as an adventure hug.
Right.
Let's do... Hey, folks. Here's the challenge for you. Come up with a Scooby-Doo adventure hook. That's the challenge I give to all of you.
The mystery machine was found broken down on the side of the road. No occupants inside, but 10 feet down in the ditch, they found a pair of corpses.
That's right. One of them had an ascot.
One of them indeed had an ascot.
Jinkies. That's what we're calling the adventure hook. Jinkies. There's something for everybody to think about. And feel free to think about it in the comments down below, or you can join us over on our Discord channel.